Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's Sunday, August 23rd. Pilo and Corinne Rios here. And we wanted to talk about a movie that we saw this weekend called Brink of War. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Brink of War. So you want to just give a real quick summary?
Sure. So what year was it? 1986?
Yes.
Okay, so 1986, right? The United States had just rebuilt its military. Ronald Reagan built up our military to where it needed to be after 4 years of Jimmy Carter basically destroying the military. And so now at this time, the Russians are desperately trying to keep up with our buildup. And so at some point, they decided to have this discussion about not a
reducing
a reduction in arms.
A reduction in arms.
Yeah.
And they met in Iceland.
Yeah, right.
And the whole movie was about them negotiating and talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I really liked, because I was just a pup way back then, in 1986, I wasn't really even involved in politics. But what struck out to me with the movie, I think I told you earlier, is just how they were able to have a discussion and talk and still stay true to your principles and to your values. And I think that's what I liked most about the movie, and learn something that I didn't know. What did you like? Why don't we just start there?
Well, I like the fact that yes, they came together to talk, but what made that possible is they were both motivated. The Russians, rather than the USSR, they were motivated because they were going bankrupt at that time. They were trying to keep up with us, and they knew they saw the future. They were running out of money. They're just like they didn't have money to continue this war, this Cold War. So they wanted to draw it down. And of course, the United States, we did the same thing. We're spending a lot of money in the military, or for the military, and we wanted to back that down a bit so we didn't have so many nuclear systems and warheads out there.
So wait, let me back up just a second. So you said that Russia was having, is it Russia or the Soviet Union?
It's the Soviet Union or the USSR.
The USSR. It's not called that anymore, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not called that anymore. But back then it was the USSR.
Right.
And are you saying that because Ronald Reagan came in and started putting a lot of money in our military, that kind of scared them and they couldn't keep up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't say scared. I don't think they were scared, but they understood that now we had a technical advantage over them. We had a lot of nukes, we had a lot of submarines, we had a lot of planes, and if we went to war with them, they would have a very difficult time with us. So yeah, they were concerned that we were now exerting our military power all over the world, including right up against our borders.
So do you agree then with a country, the United States, beefing up their military?
Sure.
For that one reason alone?
Well, for the reason is that that if somebody invades you, they know you're going to respond with some pretty powerful weapons, and that's why they never did it. That's what kept the peace. Is they knew that we would respond quite harshly, so they never actually did that. They never actually fired into Europe or stepped a foot into Europe because they knew that we would respond.
Because Europe and they were part of our allies.
Yeah.
Because you have to have allies today.
Yeah. So back then, we. Unlike today, our policy was if you attacked any of those nations, we would attack you. That was the policy.
Back then,
yeah.
It's not like that anymore?
No.
Oh, really?
Well, especially now with France and Germany doing what they're doing. But
okay.
But back then, that was the policy that we told everybody: if you attack these nations, we're going to attack you. So that was it's dangerous, because somebody could do something stupid. And you can escalate a war very quickly, as we've seen in the recent past.
So this was the part of the movie that we're talking about, since we're talking about this, where they said peace through strength.
Yeah.
And when you have a mighty military, you can create some peace through your military strength because other countries won't want to come and invade you.
Well, sure. I mean,
and then if you get a president in there who uses the military, that even adds more of the peace through strength motto or
Yeah, you can compare Carter to Reagan with that. Carter was he was a weak president, and so we had all these third world countries attacking us with Carter because they knew we wouldn't do anything.
Mm.
Iran invaded and took over our embassy in Tehran. That's an act of war.
And he did nothing?
He did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. They kept our embassy personnel in prison for about a year, and only when Reagan came into power did they give those prisoners back because they knew Reagan was going to do something about it. Absolutely, you have to have a strong military.
So the point of this discussion and the point of this movie was them Gorbachev and Reagan getting together to talk about reduction in arms.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So where do you want to go from there?
We'll start with the movie. Of course, I was 1986. I was in Philadelphia at the time, and so I'd seen some of the news clips about what was going on. Of course, not privy to anything that was actually being said, but certainly we were at the point where both nations were on edge. We were in the middle of the Cold War, which was very expensive and very dangerous. And so they got together so they could talk about reducing the amount of nuclear warfare, nuclear warheads that each country had, which was thousands and thousands.
Because both knew that it was dangerous to have a nuclear war.
Yep. Yeah. You fire one.
Yeah.
You're going to fire the rest of them. That's the danger is that some crazy guy pushes a button. Like for example, if Iran had a nuke today, they would have already fired it.
Because they want World War III.
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of having so many nuclear weapons out there is that sooner or later you're gonna have that crazy guy that's going to do it. And certainly Tehran would have done it had they had the means. And this is why Israel went after Iran and why the United States is going after Iran to keep those people from having nuclear weapons. Because that's exactly what's going to come if we let them build up their nuclear arsenal.
Okay, so in the movie, Gorbachev and Reagan got together to talk about the reduction in arms, and you were talking. And one point they seemed very cordial, and other points they were kind of not combative, but they were respectfully combative because they both were standing their ground. And one of the things I saw was the SDI program.
Yeah.
What does that stand for again?
That's the Space Defense Initiative.
Okay.
Star Wars is what we used to call it back.
Yes. And I remember Ronald Reagan in the movie was saying it's just a dome. It's just a dome to protect us if we have. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Had we developed that technology then, or we didn't? Or we were in the process?
We were in the process of putting it together.
Okay.
Right. And so the Russians didn't want us. The Soviet Union did not want us to do that because they thought it was an offensive system, and Reagan had to kind of explain it to them. And actually, in the movie, Gorbachev actually says, "Well, if you have this dome, you can protect yourself from nuclear weapons."
No, you can fire at us and then protect yourself.
Yeah,
that's what he was saying.
Right. And then Reagan, it was kind of funny. We were all laughing, and then Reagan reminded him, "Well, there won't be any nuclear weapons."
So Gorbachev should have said, then why do you want the dome? Why do you want SDI?
Yeah, because a rogue nation with nuclear weapons can still fire a nuclear weapon at you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then at one point, that was a stickler. And then Ronald Reagan, being who he was, a great negotiator. Would you see he was a great negotiator?
Reagan? Yeah, he was a great communicator.
Great communicator. Yeah. He said to Gorbachev, well, we'll give you SDI. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Not STDs.
He said, we'll give you SDI. And then Gorbachev didn't know what to say to that, huh?
Well, because he thought it was a lie.
Yeah, and a joke.
And what he didn't really understand, that I think Ronald Reagan understood, is that even if we gave them the know-how, they still wouldn't be able to build it, right? Because they were way further back technology-wise than we were. We had the means to probably build it. They didn't have the means to do that. But
do you think he was sincere in saying we'll give it to you?
Well, sure.
Oh,
Sure.
you believe Reagan to be that?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Uh-huh.
mean, that'd be like us showing them how to build an ICBM. They already had the knowledge; they just didn't have the means to to build such weapons and the money to actually do it. And the money is key here because back in those days, the Soviet Union was almost dead broke.
Okay, so why don't we stop there before we
Yeah.
get into the next one?
Okay.
So we did not give the Soviet Union SDI.
No.
That's what I just looked up.
Yeah.
Okay, but Ronald Reagan was willing to give it to him because he wanted to reduce the nuclear
Yeah,
weapons.
because that was more important.
Yeah, that was more important.
Right, and given the technology, okay, you had the technology, but they didn't have the means. See, so really, it was safe to do that, I think.
Okay, so that's kind of what this movie is about. But what was fascinating is what Gorbachev was saying at one point about the machines and the milk machines, and wait, Ronald Reagan wanted to talk about humanitarian, right?
Human rights.
And he was really concerned with the Russian citizens not being able to leave Russia.
Right.
Okay. And so, I mean, I don't even know if people know that the Russians didn't allow their people to leave. I know you're laughing at that.
Yeah.
So you want to just explain why Russia did not allow their people to leave?
Well, I'm kind of laughing because sometimes I forget that
we don't know anything.
Well, not only that, but I'm way older than most of you, and so you weren't around and you don't understand these things.
I was only in high school.
Really?
I just graduated in '85.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, right. In a communist nation, you can't just walk out of the country. As a matter of fact, if you try to walk out of the country, they'll shoot you dead.
Now, why is that?
Because they don't have any freedom. So imagine that you have to stand in line for a piece of bread or some vegetables or something, and you have to wait 4 or 5 hours in line. And then when you finally get up there, by the time you get there, all the food's already gone. This is what it was like to live in that nation, as you were constantly in lines. The communist system, they make nothing. They make horrible cars. Then they still make horrible cars. Have you ever heard of a Russian car even today?
No.
There's no such thing. They can't do it. They can't do it now, and they sure as hell couldn't do it back in those days. They couldn't make anything.
So because their people were waiting in lines, their people didn't have freedoms under communism. Most people want to leave their country to go find freedom. Is that correct?
Well, if you're starving and you can't go out to a church, or you can't even go to the next city without Big Brother asking you where you're going and why you're going to be there and when you come back, people don't want to live like that. So what happens is, if you gave them the ability to leave that communist nation, everybody would leave.
So that's why they barricaded and they put a border wall to prevent them from leaving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. That was a no-go for them. They knew that if they opened the doors, everybody would leave and they wouldn't have anybody there. Proof was after World War II, Berlin. As soon as the citizens realized that the West was going to take one part of Berlin and the communists were going to take the other side, everybody ran from the communist side over to the West side.
East Berlin to West Berlin.
Yeah. And immediately the Soviet Union went there and they put in
a wall.
Barbed wire first, and then later on they had the guards with the guns and they would shoot you. We lost a lot of people like that. And then after that, they put in a real wall. It was like a 10-foot wall, and they put landmines out there. So yeah, they definitely did not want you to leave.
So country. The wall wasn't to protect the citizenry; it was to prevent the citizens from leaving. I think that
tells you a lot.
That tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, the Soviet Union, they were communists. They put up that wall so people wouldn't leave, and people were waiting in line. And I guess I want to go down the point. So this is where we're at. And at one point, Gorbachev said to Reagan, well, if you're so worried about humanitarian aid, why don't you give us milk machines? And I'm sitting there, what is he talking about? Milk machines or machines?
Oh.
I didn't understand what the heck it was. So you want to explain why Gorbachev was talking about, well, give us milk machines?
Yeah. So earlier in the movie, he kind of hints that the Soviet Union is basically buying tons and tons and tons of grain from the U.S. because they can't grow it themselves, and the reason they can't grow it themselves is not because they don't have the people or the means to do it. The problem is their people are not motivated to do better.
Why?
Because they're not allowed. Because there's no reward for you working extra hours or working harder or inventing anything. The state owns everything. So why would you go out there and spend extra hours trying to grow something that you will get zero benefit from for your family? You'll still starve like everybody else. So nobody over there goes above and beyond because there's no incentive for them to work harder or even smarter. If you have an invention, it's not yours anymore. It belongs to the state. That's why they couldn't build tractors, and that's why they couldn't build milk machines, because their system does not allow people to benefit from their own labor. Right? The fruits of your labor. That's important to us, especially in a capitalist system. Go ahead.
So Gorbachev was trying to throw it in back at Reagan, that if you cared so much about human rights, why don't you give us or sell us milk machines? Because we have starving children in Russia. It was kind of interesting, but I just thought it was an interesting concept to understand, because communism now and socialism seem now to want to come back to life.
Right. So most of these nations have realized that system does not work.
Communist and socialism.
Yeah, both of them don't work, especially communism, because communism is the state owns everything.
Yes.
You own nothing. Socialism is you still have some private companies, but they're highly regulated and controlled by the government, which of course will never work because.
And I think in a socialist country, you still can own land. You can still own property. You can't own a bunch of it, but you can still own like one property. I think our friend from Venezuela, remember our friend from Venezuela? Mm-hmm. She was saying that her dad had owned several properties, and then Maduro came in, and they took his other properties and only allowed them one. But then when it went full communist, they even took that.
Yeah, right, because that's why socialism is the gateway to communism.
Yeah.
You still socialism, the state slowly takes over everything, and then finally they'll realize they can take anything they want, and it becomes communism. And that's what the difference is. But I was laughing during the movie because Gorbachev's character was yelling at Reagan about why he wasn't selling. Why won't you sell us the milk machines and the tractors that we need to grow more food? And he looked at him, and for a second, it looked like he finally understood
what communism was.
Why can't we build it ourselves?
Yeah, that was funny.
Because they couldn't do it.
He was like defending it he was defending it, yeah. and then Reagan is debating him, talking calmly and rationally, and sticking to his principles. And then in that one moment, it's like the light got turned on for Gorbachev.
That's the way it looked to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I was laughing at it. Of course, you can't build tractors. And it's not because there was a lack of know-how. Look, the Soviet Union built a lot of thousands and thousands of tanks and airplanes.
Right.
Why couldn't they build milk machines?
Because it's the private sector is the one who invents things.
Yes.
Right. In America, we have the freedom to invent things, sell our inventions, profit off our inventions.
Yep.
And they don't have that in there. And we need to let people know to watch that movie Tetris, because that's a good example.
That's another one, yeah.
That game Tetris. How many of you grew up with Tetris? I still love Tetris. And I think it was on Apple TV, but if you can find it somewhere else, find it and watch it, because that gives you another clear example of what communism is. Somebody in Russia invented the game Tetris, but he didn't own it.
Yeah, he didn't do it for money. He was just screwing around.
He was just messing around, making this thing. It took off.
It was for his kids, I think.
Yeah, for his own kids.
It was for his kids.
Because he worked in the Russian technology
IT
department or
yeah,
something.
right.
And then but it wasn't his, it belonged to the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
That invention belonged to the Soviet Union. And it's a really good movie. I suggest you guys go watch it because it really shows you the difference between the United States and even China. Wasn't China trying to get, or was that Japan? I think it was Japan trying to get the patent for Tetris.
That was Japan.
That was Japan.
That was Japan, yeah.
Yeah, and they had to go ask the state, the government of Russia, if they could have the patent to one of their citizens' inventions.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Very strange.
It was.
But that was actually the beginning of where the Soviet Union started to allow capitalism into their country. Same thing with China. China realized that their system wasn't working either, and they actually there was one Chinese politician who actually came out and just said this isn't working. This isn't working, and they slowly started to allow capitalism into China and Vietnam too. Vietnam now is doing quite well. It's still a communist country, but now they have capitalism in there, and they're doing quite well. They're pretty amazing stories, but definitely you should watch those. You should watch those two movies.
Which one? The Brink of War.
The Brink of War and Tetris.
And Tetris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for us, for me, it was very good because I was still a young one back then. That was the first. You told me the first time you voted was for that election for Reagan.
Yeah, it was Ronald Reagan. The first time I ever started to pay attention to politics was before the 1980 election, and I voted for Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to talk about this, babe, because we have a lot of people in this country now who think that socialism is so wonderful.
Yeah.
You want to just fill us in on why that quite doesn't work?
Well, historically, anywhere you go around the world, it has never worked.
Yeah.
And they've tried it in different flavors. They've tried it in an agricultural country, didn't work. They tried it in an industrial country, didn't work. And some of you may say, well, what about Sweden? Well, Sweden is not a socialist country. And if you ask somebody from Sweden if they're socialists, they will tell you flat out we are not socialists because they tried it and it failed over there too. Now they've got a different system. It's still a capitalist system, but they do tax the hell out of you.
Yeah, people don't understand that. People on some of our feeds are saying, oh, Iceland and Switzerland are doing so wonderful. All their people love living there. And I said, well, if you like paying 50% of your income.
It's more than 50%.
Well, I just did a research. Yeah. One of them is 50%, but some other ones are higher.
They're way higher. Great Britain.
Great Britain's higher?
Yeah, I don't know why I keep calling Great Britain. It's
United Kingdom.
It's bad Britain. They suck. France tried it, didn't work. The UK tried it, didn't work. It always bankrupts. It always bankrupts the country because you're spending money you don't have, and nobody can really get ahead. So therefore, everybody backs off and does less work. Well, sooner or later, you run out of other people's money and you're bankrupt. And that's why communism and socialism never work.
Well, and with socialism also comes free healthcare, free childcare.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of free things.
Yeah, but they're not free.
Okay, I just pulled it up, babe. Denmark, their personal income rate is 60.5%. Think about your own taxes, Americans. Do you want 60% of your income going to taxes? Which one did you want to look at? France is 55. Austria is 54.
What's the
UK? United Kingdom, 45.
Is that all? Okay.
45.
I thought it was higher.
Switzerland is 39. But the biggest one is of course, Denmark. France is next. Austria, Spain, Belgium. So that's 60% of your income going to taxes.
Yeah.
We complain now of the taxes we're paying. I can't imagine being okay. And also, you had said that socialism is the gateway.
Gateway. Yep.
I was going to say gateway drug, but it's not the gateway drug. It's the gateway for communism.
It's the gateway to communism.
Can you explain a little bit in our lifetimes that we've seen a country who is very prosperous, had lots of tourism industry and oil and gas, Venezuela.
Yeah.
And can you just explain how it progressed from a prosperous country to where it is today?
Sure. So you take a nation like Venezuela, that was doing very well because they had oil, and so they had plenty of money. And then this guy came in there and he brought in socialism with him. And people thought, wow, this is great. Free college, free this, free that, free gas, free all kinds of stuff was free. And it was fantastic. And then everybody piled on. And then once the government realized that they had control of everything, and I do mean everything, the police forces, the military, everything, then they just decided, well, why share power with anybody? We'll just take over and we become communist. And now the state owns everything. So all the oil companies that were down there were kicked out and the state took over. All the farms that were there were closed down and the state took over. Coca-Cola was down there. They kicked out Coca-Cola and the state took over. And everything that they did, the state, they ruined. They ruined the gas business. They ruined the farming. That's why they had no food. They couldn't grow any food because the government was trying to run the farms and they didn't know what they were doing. And so now it turns into a power grab, and that's what happened. Hugo Chavez decided take over everything, and of course they ruined the country. Everybody was starving. There was no food. There was no gas, no electricity.
And what do they do to sell socialism to the citizens?
They use students because the students are probably the easiest ones to manipulate. That's what the communists in the Soviet Union did. That's what they do in countries like China, in Vietnam. They use the students to get in there, and once they get in there,
what do you mean they use the students?
Well, let's switch over to Iran real quick. In Iran, the students were motivated to rebel against the Shah. So the students had an uprising, and the students are the ones who invaded our embassy over there. So once they got in and the Shah left, then the real culprits, the Islamic, came in, kicked the students out of power, and they took over. And now we're fighting them 40 years later. We're fighting all these Islamic crazies. But they use the students to get in.
So when you say students, you mean like the younger generation?
Yep, the college students mostly.
The college-age students.
Yeah, the college students were the ones who were like, oh yeah, we're going to socialism and we're going to have our freedom. They went in there and they thought they had it, but they just replaced one dictator
for another,
for a real tyrant that's still running the country right now.
So Hugo Chavez expanded state control over all those industries,
yes,
electricity and the gas, and instead of having the farming,
yeah.
Instead of having private companies do that, the state overtook it. They overtook those and started running them.
Yeah, well, they tried, but they didn't know what they were doing. See, that's what happens when you have government officials running. I think they're usually going to be incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. You can't have a government person come in there and run a farm if you've never run a farm before. It's a little complicated, actually. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to run out of food. And that's exactly what happened with Venezuela. They ran out of food. They ran out of electricity. They ran out of oil. They ran out of everything. They even ran out of water. It was so bad. But these people were eating out of the garbage. Right?
Oh, it was really bad. Yeah.
We were showing videos of these people
years ago.
Going through the garbage to eat something.
Yeah.
You know?
So he expanded the state control. And how that looks like here in the United States is universal health child care.
Yeah.
Right? Those are services that a free country should provide for free enterprise. But here we have in New Mexico, our governor giving free health, universal child care to everybody. They want to give free health care to everybody. That means it is a state-run entity.
Right.
And it never ends well. And that's what I think people just need to understand. I mean, we were in the military and we did have like TRICARE for a while, which was, and it wasn't that great. I mean, it was great, but it comes with its disadvantages if there's no competition in the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Housing, food. I mean, we're giving so much SNAP benefits money to New Mexicans right now. 455,000 New Mexicans receive money for food.
Yeah, I always think it's funny when you go to these lines where they're giving away free food to these people, and they're driving up with cars that are newer than mine.
Yeah.
They got these Cadillac Escalades and
So I just want to show people that when you have politicians start talking about we need universal free childcare, we need free healthcare, we need free food. And what I'm hearing now, Pilo, is that I asked recently if they thought housing was a right or a responsibility. And I have a lot of people who saying it's a right. And if you think it's a right, then you are going to be most easily led to have the state give everybody free housing.
Yeah.
Is that a correct statement, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because it's a power grab. That's really what it really is. If you actually look at it, pull back, get the emotion out of it, and look at it, you'll understand that it's actually the state trying to take power away from us. Because that's what it is. Every time they talk about safety, they're trying to take
for your
power.
safety.
Yeah. Whatever they use safety, they're trying to take some freedom from you in one form or the other. It could be economic, it could be guns, it could be your right for you to step outside, right? During COVID, we saw quite a bit of that. They were trying to force us to put on masks for your safety, and try to give us all jabs for your safety. And so you always got to watch out for that, because that's a communist playbook thing. They use safety as a way to take your freedoms away from you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to, guys, let you also know, for our own history here in the United States, we tried a little bit of this socialism in what was called the Common House. Did you know about that?
Is that when the Pilgrims got here?
The Pilgrims got here, and they were all trying to work together to survive. And they all decided in 1620 that they would have a common storehouse, and whatever you grew, they would put it into the storehouse.
It was a
brilliant idea.
I thought it was a good idea. However,
what it produced was laziness, because people knew that the even if they gave a little amount or grew a little amount, they would get something back. Mm-hmm. And so it produced laziness, and it produced nobody to be productive in society.
Well, it didn't produce those things, but sort of. What it is,
it brought out the human nature of selfishness.
Yeah, that sort of system ignores human nature. Human nature is, we're not going to work hard if we don't have to. We're just not. And if we can take more than we're allowed to, but we have the means to do it, we're going to do it.
And we see it right now. We have healthy people, able-bodied people go and get SNAP and be on welfare for 20 years.
Yeah.
For 20 years. That produces laziness, entitlement attitude. And so the basic lesson of the common storehouse, babe, we're going to wrap it up here, is that people were more productive when families had responsibilities and benefited directly from the fruits of their own labor.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to protect in America. And I think you guys should go see The Brink of War and go see the movie Tetris. That was also very good.
Yeah. Both good movies.
All right. That's it. Anything else you want to say? Don't vote for a socialist. That's all I want to say. Bye.